When someone disrespects you, the first thing that comes to mind is to retaliate, defend yourself, justify yourself. But what if I told you there's a much more powerful and wiser way to react without yelling, without lowering yourself, and still keeping your peace intact? Today, we're going to walk a Stoic path together to face those who try to make you feel less. In 7 practical lessons, get ready to transform your way of reacting to contempt. Throughout this video, I'm going to invite you to change attitudes, elevate your stance, and take emotional control in the face of any provocation. And I'm telling you now, the last lesson will be the most important of all. It has the power to change everything, so that you never again allow someone to determine your worth based on how they treat you. Stay until the end, because each point builds your new emotional armor. One that doesn't attack, but also doesn't get hurt so easily. And while you watch this video, start taking a stand. Comment below the phrase, "My worth does not depend on anyone's opinion." Write it in the comments. By doing so, you're not just participating, you're reinforcing that truth within yourself. Because repeating it mentally is one thing. Writing it, declaring it, owning it, that's another story. It's a milestone, a public commitment to your own dignity. You deserve respect. And even more, you have to remember that respect starts with yourself. So take a deep breath, focus, and come with me to learn how to disarm those who belittle you without losing your essence, without losing control, and without wasting time. Mastering disrespect. 7 Stoic lessons for unshakable peace. 1. Don't react impulsively. Respond with awareness. How many times have you said something on impulse and then regretted it? How many times have you let rage control your mouth, your face, your gestures? The truth is, in the heat of the moment, we are almost never our best selves. And that is why Stoic lesson to disarm those who disrespect you is simple, yet powerful. Do not react impulsively. Respond with awareness. For the Stoics, true freedom begins when you learn not to be dominated by your impulses. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is not to be like the one who has harmed you. And that difference begins precisely when you decide not to act on instinct, but on reason. When someone treats you with rudeness or contempt, your natural impulse is to hit back. You want to make it clear that you don't accept being treated that way, that you also know how to hurt. But acting that way is falling into the other person's game. It's entering an arena where the loudest wins. And for a Stoic is a defeat. Stoicism teaches us that between stimulus and response there is a space, and in that space lies your power to choose. That small interval is where awareness appears. It's the moment when you take a deep breath, observe what's happening, and decide, I'm not going to lower myself to the same level. That choice is liberating. It takes you out of reactive mode and puts you in charge. You are no longer a puppet of your emotions. You become the captain of your attitude. In practice, this means that when provoked, you don't have to respond instantly. You can pause. You can look the person in the eye and say, I prefer to talk about this later. Or simply remain silent, not out of weakness, but out of strength. That pause is not submission. It's strategy. It's maturity. And above all, it's self-respect. Responding with awareness is remembering that your worth is not in winning an argument, but in maintaining your integrity. It's recognizing that what someone says about you doesn't define who you are. What defines you is how you choose to react. Reacting impulsively is giving your power to the other. Responding with awareness is taking it back. You cannot control what others do, but you can always control how you choose to respond. And that is one of the greatest Stoic virtues. Acting with intention, not with reaction. When you internalize this lesson, you realize that remaining calm is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of mastery. Mastery of yourself, of the situation, of your energy. And that's when you become truly unshakable. 2. Don't argue with someone who has already decided not to listen to you. There are times when you talk, explain, argue, and nothing changes. The person on the other side seems deaf. They don't listen. They don't receive. They don't consider. And you get frustrated. You rack your brain trying to find the right words, as if that would open doors that are already closed from within. That is where the second Stoic lesson comes in. Do you want to argue with someone who has already decided not to listen to you? Stoic philosophy warns us about wasted energy. Epictetus said that we should not try to teach those who do not want to learn. And that applies especially to arguments. Many times, the problem is not a lack of arguments, but a lack of willingness of the other person to understand. You can present facts, use logic, remain calm. But if the other person is clinging to their beliefs, their resentment, or their pride, it doesn't matter what you say. They've already blocked any possibility of listening. Insisting on being heard by someone who is completely shut down is like yelling into the wind. You only exhaust yourself, get nowhere. Stoic wisdom proposes a more intelligent path. Recognize the limit of your influence and stop insisting where there is no openness. That's not giving up on yourself. It's protecting your energy, your peace, your dignity. It's understanding that your worth isn't in how convincing you are, but in how much you manage to maintain your integrity even when you're not understood. In practice, that means identifying dialogues that have turned into walls. Realizing when the tone of the conversation has left the realm of respect and entered a war of egos, and at that point, having the courage to stop, to not insist, leave the game. Not all battles have to be fought. Not all silence is a defeat. Sometimes it's wisdom. You can perfectly well leave someone talking to themselves, not out of contempt, but out of mental clarity. Because if you see that there's no real intention to listen, staying there is betraying yourself. It's denying yourself the right to be respected. The Stoic understands that there are conversations worth having, and others that only serve to wear you out. Knowing how to distinguish between them is a sign of emotional maturity. And even more so when you refuse to argue with someone who doesn't want to listen. You live a silent but powerful message. You show that you don't need to prove anything, that you don't depend on the other's approval to stand firm in your values. And many times, that silence is what resonates most. Because the other expects you to react, to enter the conflict. But what they find is balance. And that in itself is already a response. 3. Remember that others' disrespect says more about them than about you. Have you ever stopped to think about why certain words affect you more than others? Sometimes, a malicious phrase from someone lingers in your head for days, as if it carried real weight. But the truth is that the offense itself has no power. What makes it painful is the meaning you give to it. According to Epictetus, what hurts us are not the facts, but the judgments we make about them. That phrase summarizes one of the most powerful ideas of Stoicism. You have the power to decide what affects you. When someone disrespects you, they are actually revealing much more about their own conflicts, frustrations, and limitations than about who you are. The way the other person acts is a reflection of their inner world, not your worth. It's common to take attacks personally. You ask yourself, why is this person treating me this way? What did I do to deserve it? But that's the trap. Bedoink, don't you give the other person the power to define yourself. The Stoic doesn't allow They understand that others' behavior is their responsibility. If someone treats you rudely, impatiently, or contemptuously, that is a portrait of that person's mind. You don't have to take on that behavior as if it were your own. In practice, applying this lesson means learning to observe with detachment. Yes. Looking at the offense and asking yourself, what does this say about the other person? And why should I carry that burden? That kind of reflection gives you freedom. You stop being a sponge for others' emotions and become a filter. You filter what serves you, what builds you up, what deserves your attention. The rest, let the wind carry it away. Another key point. When you understand that disrespect is a reflection of the other person, the desire for revenge also dissolves. You no longer need to hit back because you no longer feel threatened. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. What protects you isn't your response, it's the clarity about who you are. And here's the deepest benefit of this lesson. It distances you from the need for approval. You start acting based on your own values, without reacting to every criticism or judgment that appears. It's like building an invisible armor made of discernment. Words come, glances come, attitudes too, but you remain firm. Remember, the way someone treats you is a mirror of the world that person carries inside. The way you react is a reflection of yours, and that's where Stoicism reveals itself. Not in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. Set limits firmly. Without aggression, being a calm person doesn't mean enduring everything. Having self-control isn't the same as staying silent. And maintaining peace doesn't mean you have to tolerate the intolerable. The fourth Stoic lesson invites us to find an essential balance. Set limits firmly, without aggression. Because whoever doesn't learn to clearly mark their place ends up being swallowed by others' excesses. In Stoic philosophy, respect isn't demanded with shouts. It's built with consistent attitudes. Epictetus taught that we must act according to our rational nature, avoiding emotional extremes. That means you can and should set limits when someone crosses the line, but you don't need to do it with rage, hatred, or you can do it with presence, with a firm voice and a calm gaze, with the certainty of someone who knows they don't have to submit to anyone's disrespect. In practice, setting limits means calmly saying, I don't accept being treated that way, and upholding that stance. It's making clear where your space ends and where another's begins. It's cutting off conversations that have lost respect. It's not allowing constant interruptions, invasions, or emotional blackmail. There's no need for many explanations. You just need to be consistent and, above all, unwavering. The Stoic understands that defending oneself rationally and firmly is not aggressive. On the contrary, it's a sign of maturity. Because when you stay silent in the face of injustice for fear of appearing rude, you are abandoning yourself. And Stoicism is a philosophy of presence, of integrity. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we must act according to what is just, not according to others' approval. And that requires courage. Courage to cause discomfort, courage to stand firm, courage to be yourself, even if others don't like it. And here's something key. Setting limits isn't about changing others' behavior, but about changing your attitude towards them. It is deciding that you will no longer allow yourself to be treated in a way contrary to your principles. And when you position yourself firmly and respectfully, often the other person backs down. Not out of fear, but because they realize they are facing someone who respects themselves. If you find it hard to say no, start with small steps. Decline invitations that drain you. Say no to tasks that overload you. Cut off conversations that hurt you. Each of these attitudes strengthens your emotional muscles, and the stronger you are inside, the less tolerant you'll be of anything that tries to belittle you. 5. Don't beg for consideration. Cultivate self. Few things are as draining as trying to earn the respect of someone who has decided not to give it to you. Insisting on being seen, heard, valued by someone who doesn't show reciprocity creates a cycle of silent suffering. The person strives, adapts, stays silent, gives all in the hope of receiving crumbs of consideration. Stoic philosophy teaches us that everything outside our control should be treated with rational indifference, and among those things is how others perceive us. Epictetus said that we should not place our tranquility in others' judgments, because that makes us slaves of external approval. When you need someone's validation to feel complete, you surrender your emotional autonomy. And few things weaken you as much as depending on others' gaze to recognize your own worth. Having self-respect is understanding that you don't need to be accepted to be worthy. It's acting according to your principles even when no one recognizes it. It's knowing that someone's silence doesn't extinguish your voice, that another's coldness doesn't freeze your essence. The Stoic focus is much more on being consistent with their values than on being admired. And that attitude, paradoxically, is what commands true respect. Respect that isn't begged for or pleaded for, but that is born from the solidity of who you are. In practical life, that means stopping running after those who ignore you. It's not about pride, but about dignity. If someone doesn't respond to your message, don't send another demanding attention. If someone treats you with indifference, don't insist on being present. Simply withdraw. And that withdrawal isn't fleeing, it's affirmation. It's like saying, in silence, I am enough for myself. This also applies to environments where you constantly have to prove your worth. If you're in a relationship, a job, or a social circle where you constantly have to justify your value, perhaps the problem isn't you, but the environment. And Stoicism invites you to reflect. Am I living according to my rationale and virtuous nature? Or am I exhausting myself trying to fit into places that make me smaller? Cultivating self-respect is a daily exercise. Start with small decisions. Reject what devalues you. Distance yourself from what weakens you. And above all, stop offering yourself emotionally to those who don't care for you. The more you respect yourself, the less you allow disrespect and overtime. You realize that the void left by those who did unvalue you is actually a sacred space, ready to be.
6. Surround yourself with those who strengthen you, not those who weaken you. The company you choose to keep in your life has a profound impact on what you become. The people around us don't just influence us, they silently shape our thoughts, our behaviors, and even how we see ourselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we should keep close to people who help us be better and avoid, as much as possible, those who corrupt our soul. This doesn't mean excluding everyone we disagree with or living in a selective bubble. It simply means taking responsibility for protecting your emotional and mental space, choosing more carefully with whom you share your energy, your ideas, and above all, your vulnerability. Negative people, excessively critical people who live judging, complaining, belittling, or competing in silence, gradually undermine your confidence. They are like a headwind. They don't knock you down instantly, but they slowly divert you until you no longer remember who you were. And the Stoic knows that guarding the mind also means paying attention to the company one keeps. In practice, this requires an honest self-assessment. Who are the people who inspire you to be stronger, more serene, wiser? And who are those who, after talking to you, leave you confused, exhausted, or with low self-esteem? That difference becomes evident when you start observing, and the next step is to have the courage to relocate yourself. Sometimes that means setting limits on long-standing friendships, reducing contact with toxic family members, or even cutting ties that have lost their balance. It's not coldness, it's maturity. Surround yourself with those who uplift you, who share constructive ideas, who know how to listen and also correct with respect. Such people are not just good company, they are pillars of growth. Stoicism values this type of relationship, bonds based on virtue, reason, and mutual respect. And yes, they are rare, but they exist. You just need to be willing to also be someone who strengthens others, who offers what they want to receive. And don't forget, choosing who surrounds you is often choosing who you are becoming. If you want to cultivate courage, wisdom, serenity, surround yourself with those who are also on that path. You don't need to accept every presence just for fear of being alone. There is a solitude that strengthens more than company that sickens. 7. Become unshakable. Strengthen your inner world. We arrive at the last and most important lesson. Become unshakable. Strengthen your inner world. And that doesn't mean becoming cold, indifferent, or disconnected from emotions. It actually means cultivating a silent strength that keeps you firm, even when everything around you tries to pull you off balance. For the Stoics, true power isn't in controlling others, but in mastering oneself. Marcus Aurelius, as Emperor of Rome, wrote that peace is not found in external events, but in the ability to keep the soul tranquil in the midst of chaos. He knew that the world is unstable, that people disappoint, that situations are beyond our control. But he also knew that there is a place no one can invade, a well-trained mind, a peaceful conscience, a heart that knows itself. That is your true refuge, and it needs to be built with discipline. Being unshakable doesn't mean not feeling pain or frustration. It means not letting yourself be destroyed by it. It means looking at an insult and understanding that it doesn't define you. Seeing a mistake and not sinking into guilt, but immersing yourself in learning. Understanding that what someone tries to take from you respect, dignity, worth only leaves if you hand it over. And the Stoic doesn't hand it over. They observe, breathe, and choose. They always choose. Strengthening your inner world is about investing in what no one sees, your values, your principles, your ability to reflect before acting. It's having moments of silence to listen to yourself. It's reading not just to know more, but to understand better. It's cultivating friendships that nourish you, not just distract you. It's taking care of your mind as if it were a temple. Clean, protected, sacred. In practice, start with small routines. Ask yourself every day, what can I do today to become stronger inside? It could be a book that teaches you, a conversation that uplifts you, a no that frees you. It could be the simple habit of, when faced with a problem, not complaining, but taking a deep breath and acting with focus. With each of those choices, you'll notice that you no longer crumble so easily, that attacks diminish because you stopped reacting as before. And even if they return, because they will return, you'll be prepared. This lesson is the foundation of all the others, because in the end, the only real defense against disrespect, instability, and negativity is a well-built soul. When you become unshakable, not out of coldness but out of clarity, not only does your way of reacting to the world change, but the kind of world you start to build around you changes too. If you've made it this far, I want to sincerely congratulate you. That shows you're not just watching another video, you're seeking knowledge, growth, and tools to become a stronger, more conscious, and more serene person. And that step alone puts you ahead of most. Now, tell me in the comments which of these lessons resonated most with you, which one you feel you need to apply most urgently in your life. And if for now you don't know what to say, simply write, "Thank you." That way I'll know you stayed with me until the end, and that this content made sense to you. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, take the opportunity to do so now and turn on notifications. Here, every day we share deep reflections based on Stoic wisdom to help you live with more clarity, balance, and purpose. At the end of this video, I'm going to leave you 2 more special pieces of content with teachings that can continue to strengthen you. I invite you to watch them and continue this path of inner transformation. Your evolution has already begun.